So my number 10 pick is going to be This War of Mine. Wow, what a really good game. This game blew me away. It caught me off guard. I was expecting this when I saw the trailer, which is what's playing in the background right now. If you see the first part of the trailer, like, oh, this is going to be another war game, blah, blah, blah. I was being very cynical about it. Then I watched like the rest of the trailer, like literally within that span of time in the trailer. I was like, oh, okay, I'm an asshole. This game is really about the other side of the war. The people who were caught in the war zone and left to survive. Most survival games are about surviving zombies, but in this one, you're surviving against other human beings, which is interesting because you're against just other people. Some people are helpful in the game, but some not so much. They kind of want to hurt you or get at you or raid you or whatever, and they're really trying to do it against you. But what you realize is that at certain points you kind of do that to other people. That's what you're doing to them. So it's really weird. It puts you in this situation where every decision you make really felt like it had a consequence, right? I mean, like every decision, to ones like what you're gonna use to buy or trade with the guy who comes to your place. I remember when I finally decided to kill someone that wasn't directly threatening me just to survive or have a better chance. It really messed my crew members' morale up. I had to spend time like healing them mentally by talking to them every day for a while with another member of the crew. I was like, holy shit, I have never had to deal with this kind of consequence before for killing anyone in a video game. I've had to deal with consequences of my actions before, like in Telltale games where you're like, you killed my brother, I remember that kind of thing, but I've never had to deal with an inward consequence of a character in their mental state. It was really cool to see this because it really gave you something that's usually left out in a video game, and it kind of drew you in more. It made you feel more and more like you were there. This game really does a good job of that. By doing this and having some like decent stealth and action gameplay, and you really want to try to survive as long as possible without dying, those kind of game mechanics, it really was a great game that I believe if you haven't played, you should go play. The first couple times you're going to play, you're going to die. There's kind of a difficulty level there, but it's just you getting used to it, and every time you play it can be a little bit different, so it's just going to get used to it, getting used to it. There's also a decent crafting system in the game, especially being able to lay it out where you need to and saving time every day, because every day at, I think it's 8 o'clock, you get kicked out and you got to go do something at night. So it's really cool. Definitely pick it up. That's why it's number 10 on my list. I think it's like 17 bucks on Steam. It may even drop due to the Steam sale till January. So definitely check this one out, guys. Oh my god. Wow. So you're going to be doing that a lot in this game, I promise you. The game is basically fan fiction for South Park fans, and I love South Park. So if you don't like South Park, you're probably not going to like this game. However, I believe that if you do like South Park, you're going to love this game. And if you like South Park and you haven't played this yet, you need to go out and get it. It has Trey Parker and Matt Stone written all over it. It's one of the funnest games I've played in a long time. And not only is it fun, it keeps you interested. The game does some random crazy stuff which I expected going into it, right? It's South Park, but I didn't expect it to keep me interested like it did. There are points in the game where you feel like it's gonna end, and then all of a sudden it just keeps going and going and going, and they throw crazier stuff at you, and you're just like, oh my god, I can't believe this is in a game, and this is freaking awesome. So they use characters like Cartman and Randy the way I believe they should be used, and I like the fact that you're your own character and you're not one of the boys, right? The gameplay is very basic, really, though. It's a basic RPG. There really isn't a whole lot of new here, but that didn't really matter because you just kept wanting to play because you wanted to see what the next funny thing was, or what's the next thing is going to make you laugh, what crazy shit they're going to pull next. The game really didn't need the things that other games need, the new mechanics, the new graphical engine, the new, whatever it is that they're coming out with. It didn't need that. It just needed you to want to play it, and it does that really well. I think when you watch a movie, you're sitting there and you're not doing shit. You're eating popcorn, drinking drink maybe, but you're not really doing anything. But the movie keeps you sitting there by keeping you compelled. You want to know what's going to happen. You want to know what's going to happen next. I think finding a fine balance between what a movie gives you and what a video game should give you, which is playing, game mechanics. I think that's the key to making a great video game. Something that you don't think South Park is going to make you realize, but it does. And I think that's the kind of surprise this game will bring when you play it. So definitely go check this game out. I'm going to leave it up to my man, Jimmy here to tell you why.
Step forward now and fulfill your your day. Step forward now and fulfill.
Assassin's Creed and Batman on steroids. Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor. Running around and climbing has just never felt as good as it does in this game. What makes this different though than Assassin's Creed or Batman is really the difficulty of the game, and especially when you're fighting enemies. Fighting one guy isn't much different than probably Assassin's Creed or Batman, but when you're fighting a mob or you're fighting a really tough captain or lieutenant, you find yourself really getting beat up sometimes, especially in the middle and beginning part of the game. If you die, there's a pretty good penalty involved where people start moving up in the scheme of things. There's a tier system of bosses, and you have to end up fighting more guys in the end. So there's a little bit of a reason why you don't want to die. The penalty isn't that big, but it is something. Every time I remember when I died, I was like, man, God, and I just got rid of like 3 of those lieutenants, and now like all 3 of them, there's 3 more new ones, and then this guy moved up and this one leveled up to this spot, and I was really frustrated whenever I died. So I really had to take my time with when I got into a fight with an enemy. I was also really amazed the first time I killed the orc and it came back with the scars or disability I gave it, or maybe it didn't come back at all. That kind of detail was just really appreciated in this game. There are some downsides to this game that I find, and that comes especially in later parts of the game and the boss battles. The later parts of the game just ended up actually being easy. Middle, beginning, not super tough, but tougher than the ending. At the end you get certain abilities, and when you level up you just kind of become this powerhouse, which is cool in its own right because it's like you're building your guy up to being this powerhouse. But you know, that difficulty kind of got lost, and really part of that difficulty loss was that the boss battles just weren't tough at all. In fact, boss battles were lackluster at best, and they were probably one of the worst parts of the game. Really, that being probably the worst part of the game. Everything else is just so great, between the moves that you can unlock to the vistas that you see. Especially at the beginning of the game, I was like, I hope the whole area doesn't look just like this. And then they open up a second area and you're like, wow, I really appreciate the view and the new area, the new environment. So if you haven't checked this game out, go grab it up, play some Middle Earth, play some Lord of the Rings, go kill some orcs or whatever the hell they call them in this game. I forget. So don't blame me. I'm not a big Lord of the Rings nerd. Kind of. I know things. Gandalf's awesome. What can I say? A Musou game that is actually decent. What? Never thought I'd say that ever in my life. I just didn't think that was going to be possible. But there's just so much in this game that it's just freaking amazing. And I'm not even counting the DLC yet. I'm just talking about the standalone game. You add the DLC, you got a game that can last you hours upon hours. And it's fun. The storyline is decent, and there's nothing incredibly special about it. However, it does have some minor twists here and there, and it kind of makes you play different characters. Then there's definitely some points where I was like, man, this storyline is going to be really short. This campaign mode is going to be short. And then all of a sudden it makes you do some other things, and you're like, oh wow, this is really fun. I can get into this. The graphics are really great. Since it's the first time you really get to see Link and his gang in HD, Nintendo's trying to get you ready for that new Zelda. That's what they're doing. You know, that's what they're doing. They're like, here's some Link in HD. Get ready. What makes the game freaking awesome, though, is these over-top moves. Like I said, it's a Musou game. And that's what Musou games are known for. Think Dynasty Warriors, right? You don't have to really think back that far. There's like 20 of them now, I think. The last decent one I played was Dynasty Warriors 3. And after that, I was like, I don't really, this is kind of the same thing over and over again. 3, to me, was my favorite. I don't know why. Maybe it was the first one I picked up in the series. Just liked it. Me and my friend played it all the time. This game, however, reminds me of the fun parts of Dynasty Warriors 3, of what a hack and slash can bring. And that's right. I use the word fun and hack and slash in the same sentence. It's possible. You just have to do it right. And Hyrule Warrior does that. The moves are great. The controls are amazing. The characters are different. They have a leveling system. The RPG elements are done just right. Not too much, but there's something there that's definitely worth digging into. Simple things as letting you buy character levels so you don't have to endlessly grind them is just an amazing element to add to the game. it keeps you from having to deal with that boring hack and slash stuff as much as possible, but still letting you play the game. Different weapons have completely different move sets, and they feel great on each one of them, and they're freaking pretty cool. I mean, Link's fire rod, when I first got it, was like a fire rod. What the? Link's got a fire rod? Where's a sword and shields and shit? And I started playing with the fire rod, and I was like, this is the best goddamn weapon in the game. This weapon's so awesome. It's like one of my favorite weapons. And also, the characters are great. I mean, I picked up Impa, and I was like, this Impa's boss. She's a damn straight boss in this game. If you have the game and you haven't played as Impa, pick her up and play her and do some water combos, because this shit's awesome. Definitely give this game a try, especially if you got yourself a Wii U. It's worth it, I promise you. With the DLC out now, it's $20, and you can unlock all these different things, characters. It's just awesome. They really did a great job with this game. One last thing, see ya. Goddamn. Alright, number 6. Far Cry 4. And I am surprised this is on my list for top 10. When I heard Far Cry 4 was being announced, I was like, oh great, another game I'm just not going to give a damn about. I was never a really big fan of any of the Far Crys. Maybe Far Cry 1 when it came out. But Far Cry 2 blew it for me. I played that and I was like, I can't, this game, I just can't stand it. So when Far Cry 3 came out, I skipped it. And a lot of people said that was a really good game. But I mean, the storyline to me didn't really appeal to me, so I was just kind of skipped it. Didn't really want to play it. And then Far Cry 4 was announced, and I was like, okay, here we go. As it got closer and closer to release, I started seeing things about it here and there. And I think it was really this elephant combo thing that got me on the internet, where this guy hit another guy with an elephant, and the guy flew up in the air, and then the guy was shooting him as he was in the air. I was like, all right, Ubisoft, you better not fail me right now. You better not fail me, because I'm gonna buy this game. So I bought the game a little bit after release. I wanted to see what people said about it. I wanted to make my own opinions about what those people were saying. But man, was it worth the buy. Going back to the last 2 games on my list, it's just about having fun, right? And you're gonna see that pattern probably throughout the whole list, is these games are just fun. This isn't your normal shoot bangs, you know, mission here, mission there. You really have the freedom to tackle your missions any way you want. Certain ones you got to do in some ways, like the assassination missions or the hostage missions. You got to kind of do it their way. But even then, you can kind of do those missions in the way you want to. But if you want to use the flight suit, dive in on a parachute, down on top of a rooftop, and go blazing, you can. You want to run around like a Rambo style with your sick-ass bow and arrow? Guess what? You can do it. That bow and arrow is OP, by the way. Want to ride around on an elephant like a jackass and just run people over and shoot them? You got it. Another great part about this game, though, is the co-op, and it's really, really fun to play with a friend. It basically can be played like you're the goddamn Navy SEALs, or if your buddy wants to be the goddamn Arnold movies where you just run around blowing everybody up. The freedom is really what makes this game shine. So whether you play it by yourself or with a friend, the game just has a lot to it. Another great thing about this game, especially if you can get on PC, but even if not, it's just a beautiful game. It really is gorgeous. There's scenes when you're flying around on your little helicopter thingy-mabob that you're just looking around and you're like, holy cow, this game looks great. And usually I'm not like a huge person on graphics, because that isn't what always makes a great game. But this game has a lot of stuff that makes it great, and then the graphics is just like a cherry on top. So whether you're hanging from a cliff, or flying through the air, or on your top of your goddamn elephant, this game really just has it all. So definitely check it out. And Pagan Min is probably one of the best antagonists out there. I believe he's so cool. I wish he had more lines. I wish you got to meet him more. He's just got this coolness to him where he's like this badass bad guy. In fact, if I was to say there was a fault in this game at all, it's that you don't get to see him enough or interact with him enough. Kind of see him at the beginning of the game, and that's it. And to end everything, you can beat the game in 15 minutes. If you don't know about that, go check it out. Oh, and one more thing. Fuck honey badgers. Fuck those guys. I hate them. I hate them. Number 5. Dragon Age Inquisition. Got a spare 100 hours lying around? You got 100 hours you really don't know what to do with? Well, I got an adventure for you. This game is awesome. I love Dragon Age 1. If this game was exactly like Dragon Age 1, I probably wouldn't have too much of a problem with it, except the game would probably be twice as long as it already is, because Dragon Age 1 was a lot of strategic battles placed inside of a game. Dragon Age 2, however, was It wasn't that great. It wasn't a horrible game. It just wasn't as good as Dragon Age 1. And I think that's pretty much a consensus across most gamers. I mean, there's some people that really like it, some people that really hate it. but to most gamers it was just too fast paced. It wasn't what Dragon Age 1 was. Dragon Age 3 or Dragon Age Inquisition is really a blending of those two games, and they did it really well. You get to choose, how you want to tackle each battle. Is this a battle you think you can just run through? Then don't use a strategy system. If it is a battle that you think you need a little more time and effort to put behind it, then pull up and do the strategy system, and pull up into the top overhead view and figure out what you want to do with each of your guys. It really does a good job of blending these two. You can go through the whole game doing one or the other. You're going to have a harder time with one or the other. I promise you that. Because about, I think, 80% of this game, maybe 90%, I ran through the game without using the strategy system. But I was also either always over leveled or at the right level, so I may have had an easier time than some people. If you're under leveled, may need to use the strategy system a little more. I think the biggest time I ever used the strategic system was with the dragon fights, where I had to make sure my mages were out of the way and not getting hit and things like that. But it gave me that option, and I really liked it. I think one of the biggest downfalls to this game is that sometimes you can be so overwhelmed with quests. It's just insane, especially at the beginning of the game. I remember I started this game up about an hour in. I had like 50 quests I had to do, and they were all in the hinterlands, and I was like, oh my goodness, I have a ton of quests. This is crazy. Some people can look at that as like awesome, there's a lot of stuff I can do, and some people will just be too overwhelmed, and I got a mixture of both. I first was like, well, I can tackle these, how am I going to plan this out? But at the same time I was like, man, it's a lot. It's a lot of things to do all of a sudden, and just in one area. That's where everybody's like, hey, I finally got out of the hinterlands. I finally broke through and made it past that point in the game. Once you get out of it, though, you realize that there's a lot of areas that this game offers, and they're all a lot different from each other, just by the way they look. And I think that's the greatest part about this game, is there's just such great lore that builds the world of Thedas up, and it's not forced down your throat. You can really choose to delve into it if you want. If you don't want to, you just want to play the game and understand the story, you can do that too. But there's a big treat there for people who really want to get into the world of Thedas, the history behind this awesome place. And it has great history, and they did a great job of giving you tints here and there of what's going on, different books and stuff like that that tell you the different things if you really want to delve into it. There's more than just the combat system and the story or the lore behind the world that make this game great. It is a BioWare game. There are choices to be made and things like that make this game also interesting. But it was to me that the combat system and the lore is really what drew me in and made me want to play this game, and that's why it's on the list for me. It just did a great job of having me want to play the game in both ways. By one, I want to fight things because the battle system is awesome, and then it had a lore which kept me drawn in and was like, wonder what's going on, what's happening in this world. That's what really made me interested in Dragon Age Inquisition. God damn it, Little Mac, you are so awesome. You are one of my favorite characters in this game, and on top of that, you are part of one of my favorite games on the NES in Punch-Out. Now, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about Super Smash Bros. On the Wii U. I never played 3DS version. I can't speak to it, but I can speak to the Wii U version, and this game is amazing. Now, what makes this game so fun is that really anyone can pick it up and play it. It has this simple mechanics to it that, you don't really need to be a super big fighting game fan to learn how to play this game. Just pick it up, pick your favorite character, jump into it, beat each other up, have fun. That's what really makes this game so much fun. It's so accessible, I believe, to a wider audience than most other fighting games. On top of that, you're looking at something that gives out such a great nostalgic value, where you get to play as some of your favorite characters through video games and pit them against other favorite characters of yours in video games. On top of that, you play some of the craziest stages ever made, and you're looking at some of the best music in video game history all compiled into one game. So you got nostalgic value, you have great accessibility to the game, it's super easy to pick up and play. All you really need now is good controls, you need great graphics, and then you just need different modes to play that keep you occupied. And you got yourself one of the best games of the year. What really keeps it from being the top game to me, and what kind of kept some other games off the list actually, is that it's just really a big rehash of the other games, right? It's not much different, to me anyways, than other Smash Brothers games. However, that doesn't, in this case, keep it away from being a super fun game, something that I really enjoy playing and having fun with my friends. There's not many games I can say that anymore, where I can say all my friends get together and we can just play this game hours on end, just beating each other up and just having a blast. So because of that, this game still made the list. There will be other games that didn't make this list, even though they're super fun. and we'll talk about them. I think at the end of the list I'll talk about them. But this game deserved this spot because of how much hype that I had for it and how it lived up to most of that hype that I wanted. Only thing I can really say that I didn't like about this game is Trainer, no one likes you except for probably like 3 people. Get off my screen. Alright, top 3 games of 2014 for OG Chris here. And as you can already see, number 3 is going to be Guilty Gear Xrd, or Zerd, or Third, or however you want to say it. It should have probably came up with a little cooler title. However, this game is awesome. So Bad Guy. I just like saying his name. It's just a cool name to say. I don't know why. It's like stupid last name, Bad Guy, but So Bad Guy. It's just awesome. I don't even main this guy. He's not my main, but you know, whatever. It's a cool name to say. Kaikesuke. They just got cool names. I don't know. I have to say Bedman's a little weird, but other than that, I mean, awesome game. Then this is the next installation in Guilty Gear franchise, and what a great one it is. It just recently came out, and the minute I started playing it, I loved it. It has some of the best artwork and animations in fighting games to date, and the music is just, holy cow, this is some great music in game. If you don't even buy the game, just go grab the OST for this game. It is just freaking awesome. Also, the stages are really great. There's not really a bad stage in the game, and all the characters are very unique. They feel very different. They're all got their own like styles. It's such a great fighting game. Now, like the last number 4, which was Super Smash Brothers, this game is a little more in depth. This game does offer a lot more, and you have to learn a lot more if you really want to be great at it. However, the game's tutorial teaches you pretty much everything you know, from basics in-game text to specific character combos to general fighting game mechanics. This game teaches it all to you, and it does so in a way where you can learn it, right? So it is going to take time to do that if you want to become really good at it. However, the game has that for you. Really done really well. This is a great game to start out because of the tutorial. It really helps someone who hasn't played fighting games much before to understand what is actually going on. Now, with that being said, there is a lot of in-game mechanics and text that need to be learned, and it can be a bit overwhelming, especially for a newcomer. On top of this, there is a mode called Story Mode, and it's pretty much just that. It's a mode where they tell you the story. There's zero gameplay, you don't fight at all or anything like that. It's just straight story of what's going on in the game, what's happening at the moment this game, the story takes place. It's really cool because most fighting games have shitty storylines. They usually don't matter too much, or they're really not the big point of the game. But in this one, it adds it to it. It kind of reminds me of Mortal Kombat 9, I think, where they kind of like retcon everything and they kind of take you through the storyline of how Mortal Kombat is laid out. In this way, this game also does the same thing, except it doesn't do it with any fighting. You basically go through a quote-unquote like a pseudo-anime kind of style of telling their story. So they have like a thing where there's a bunch of dialogue, and then they have some animation and some much more dialogue. But it's actually a very intriguing mode. They give you kind of emotions to different characters that you may or may not even want to ever play. For instance, there's a character in the game called Ramlethal, and I never really thought about playing as her. In fact, I was like, you know what? But after I went through the story mode, I was like, you know what? It should be pretty cool to pick up and try for a little bit, just because it gave me a connection to her that otherwise wouldn't have been there without the story mode. It also teaches you who the real bad guys are, and it kind of shows you, gives you a little background on the cast. Now that you've gone through story mode and you know who you like and you know who you hate, let's get online and let's kick some ass. So when the game first came out, the netcode really wasn't that great, and it was really hard to find matches, and there was a little lag. Most of the time, there wasn't actually any, but it wasn't great at finding matches. However, there's been a recent patch that came out, and the netcode now is really great. In fact, the other night I was online, I found the lobby, I got in, and we were lined up with 6 people on one station, taking turns just beating the winner. It was super fun. Everybody was really cool. I just had a blast playing the game, having fun doing what I like doing, playing fighting games against other people. The other cool thing that happened is there's DLC in this game. It's a lot like you would say a League of Legends kind of DLC where new characters come out. You got to pay for the new characters if you want to play them. You also got to pay for certain things like costume colors and things like that. However, they just released Leo, and I bought him, and he's freaking awesome. I love him. He's probably going to be my main. I'm not 100% sure yet, but he's really fun to play as. The only downfall is the DLC is a little bit pricey. It's not super expensive, but it's a lot more than I thought it was going to be. However, It's something that they're not making me buy to play the game. In fact, if the next 8 characters came out and I didn't buy one of them, I'd still be able to play the game against other people who even buy that DLC. So to me, as long as it stays like that, that's fine by me. I'll buy the characters I want. I won't buy the other ones. Of course, this is an opinion. Other people will have different opinions on this idea. I like it. That's fine by me. Whatever. I'll get over it. The next thing on fighting games that is super important is character balance, and this game has that. All the characters are balanced. There's no real overpowerful character that I've seen so far that I have encountered, and I've pretty much fought at least one of every other character. Of course, that might mean I have to fight people who are actually good with them, but if that's true, then that just means I need to get better, right? So as long as it's not a new person picking up a character and just wiping out pros, then to me there's character balance in this game. However, there are certain characters that are a little tougher than others, such as, like, let's say for me, Axel. Axel was like one of the hardest characters for me to fight. I think it's called his Sparrow stance. That stance just was like whooping my ass left and right. So what's cool is, like I was talking about earlier, the tutorial has a mode where you can select the characters, and it basically gives you like 2 tutorials on every character and what you should watch out for. And one of them was Axel's Sparrow stance. So I did that a couple times, try to figure out what was going on. And then I got in game, had a lot better time managing Axel players. Still need more practice probably, but I'll always need more practice. I'm not the greatest fighting game person in the world, but I do love playing them. I love just engaging in the community. To me, this game is really the complete fighting game, and it will definitely hold me over until I can see what the next Capcom Street Fighter will do. Until then, awesome Guilty Gear, awesome job. So bad guy. Man, I really like saying that. This game, oh, I love this game. It's the darkest of Souls. I'm gonna get the bad out of the way right now. It isn't Dark Souls. That's it. So now that's out of the way, this game, even though it isn't as great as its predecessor, it's still an amazing game. I played Demon Souls and I played Dark Souls 1, and I love those games like you would love a big hefty meal. You know, it's delicious on the way down. You kind of regret your decision later, but then ultimately you go back and you eat that big hefty meal again sometime down the road. You play the game at first and you love it. You're going through it and you're like, I'm pretty good at this. Then all of a sudden the game decides to be a big asshole and beat you down with a stick. Then you're like, oh, I kind of regret that. And then later down, maybe an hour later or so, you get back into the game and you're like, you know what, I can do this. It's really hard to explain what makes Dark Souls 2 really great, or any of its predecessors. It's just something you have to go into the game and experience yourself on a first-hand basis. Some people will love it, but I think a lot of people will like it. And it's just, you gotta play the game. Now, one of the first things you think of when you think of a Souls game, anybody out there, even if you've never played it, is everyone says it's a difficult game. And it is difficult, because your difficulty comes in having to learn situations. Your survival depends on knowing what's going to happen, whether it's what is coming right around the corner, or the moves of the boss and how to dodge or block them. And your first time through, it's gonna be hard. And you're gonna die. You just gotta expect that going into it. If you go into it and you think you're gonna beat the game without dying, you're severely mistaken. You're not gonna be able to do that until you learn everything about the game possible. To beat the bosses, you just really need to know the boss, and sometimes even get a little lucky. I'm looking at you, Ancient Dragon, you bastard. But even the Ancient Dragon boss fight really comes down to straight skill if you know what you're doing. However, when everything clicks and everything's working and you're running and you're doing really great, that is like an accomplishment in itself. And it's one of the, like, you almost get serotonin released from this, because it feels like you're doing something great. You finally overcame an obstacle and you did it with your pure skill and pure perseverance. And that's what really makes this game awesome. What's even cooler than that is when you actually get through a boss on your first try. You're like, wow, I just kicked that boss's ass and I did it on my first try. I'm a fucking badass. And that's how this game can make you feel awesome. And that's what I think people feed off when they play this game. You really feel like you did something. And you did, because you played something and you beat something that most people think is too difficult to play, but you did it. You persevered and you overcame something. Now, the other obstacle, or the other thing in this game that's kind of hard for people to understand, is the storyline. Does this game really have a story? And to me, it does. And that story differs between each person, really. If you basically have the item description and you have a way to explain it, you basically have something to back up your story. And there's many different opinions on what's going on in this storyline. Some are right. Actually, most of them are right. It's just because there's so much vagueness, but in a way that's really cool because it's like a puzzle that you piece together and you really come up with your own theory. Whether you believe other people's theories or not, it's really cool to see what everyone comes up with the items descriptions to back them up and cool things like that. Now, with all that being said, Dark Souls 1 is a better game than Dark Souls 2. And I think Dark Souls 2 lacks in one is the boss fights were really lacking in this game. It made it kind of overall easier than the predecessors. And then on top of that, the world design and the level design just wasn't great in Dark Souls 2 as it was in Dark Souls 1. Now, it wasn't bad in any sense, it just wasn't as good as its predecessor. But let's add the DLC that also came out this year. When you add the DLC, you're talking about now level designs that bring you back to what Dark Souls 1 was. And these 3 DLCs, the Crown DLCs I'll call them, really did a great job on reliving what Dark Souls 1 was. I remember entering the Sunken Temple the very first time, looked off to the left over the cliff, and I saw items on the ground down there, and I'm like, I'm gonna be down there. Sooner or later, I'm gonna be down there, and that's something I kind of really missed in Dark Souls 2, was that kind of level design. Add in some better boss fights and some better enemies, and you had yourself 3 great DLCs that really brought Dark Souls up on the list for me. I can't tell people enough who haven't tried this game to try it, and don't worry about failing if you do, but it's really worth it when you win. So definitely go check it out if you haven't. I promise you, you will be frustrated, but you will also be very well rewarded for those frustrations. Number 1 game of the year for me was Bayonetta 2. This game, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get through this without being so hype I have a heart attack. This game is so freaking amazing. It is amazing. It is simply, hands down, the funnest, the best, the greatest game of the year. Bayonetta 2 came back this year and was just better than ever. Hands down, one of, if not the best character action game ever created. Bayonetta 2 is just non-stop action all the way through the game. Let's get the easy stuff out of the way. The controls are tight, the combos are smooth and great looking, graphics are great, replayability is worthwhile, and enemy design is just drop dead gorgeous. Platinum, who's the developers of Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2, have a formula for character action, and they know what they're doing, and they do it great. So on top of everything just previously mentioned, the battles are just freaking amazing. You got these set pieces that you're just sitting there going, holy cow, what? Like, how am I doing this? And it happens all the time. There's a storyline that is there, and it's just enough for me to care about. That's probably one of the weaker points. I'll probably be talking about a little bit later. And the weapon designs are just there, and they're fun. Like, all the combinations you can do, it's just really fun to try everything out. They took everything from Bayonetta and they made it smoother, better, and more streamlined to me. There's just a lot here that will keep you occupied other than just playing the main story. There's the pseudo co-op versus mode, which grades you against someone during fights on how badass you were, versus the enemy you both were trying to take out at the same time. So it's like co-op and you're fighting each other with style. Now, this isn't just some hack and slash character action game. There's actually some skill that needs to be played, and it's very fast paced. I think that's one of the most important things in a character action game, is getting the right difficulty. If you put it on easy mode, it is easy. You put it on medium, it is medium. You have to understand their bosses, you have to time your dodges and your rolls. It's not as hard as Dark Souls, it's a lot more forgiving, but if you make mistakes enough, you will lose, and there are times you will die. But that's what makes the game so good. It's not just a really hard game, but it's not a super easy one either. They get their difficulty just right. The other great thing about the difficulty of this game is that it isn't really hard right off the bat. The game eases you into its systems, and it does this by picking specific enemies and trying to teach you how to play the game through those enemies. And then as the game goes on, you start fighting more and more enemies, different types in the same battlefield. It really makes you into a better fighter into the game. As you go on, you understand the mechanics a little bit better, and it teaches you the game without a bunch of tutorial boxes. Like I said earlier, the story was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't like the most mind-blowing story in the world, but it wasn't a horrible story. It was there. It was enough for me to keep playing. However, I think the Bayonetta universe that's around the story is actually cooler at some points than the actual storyline. When you read those little tidbits and facts everywhere, it's just really awesome to see. I love the whole demons aren't necessarily evil and angels aren't necessarily good concept. It's really cool to see that. And when you're beating on an angel, which has like this pristine and gold and majestic look to it, and you beat it and you beat it and its armor starts falling off, you realize it's a facade because underneath it's just something really creepy looking, and it is pretty creepy. The game brings all these things together and it creates to me what is the game of the year. You definitely won't be bored playing this game. And even though this really doesn't have to do anything with Bayonetta 2, when you buy the game, you get Bayonetta 1 for free. I mean, they just adding more hype because Bayonetta 1 is just as great as Bayonetta 2. It is just so amazing. There's just too much hype in this. Get down. If you got a Wii U, buy this game right now. Go out there. I don't care what you have to do. Sell yourself whatever you need to make sure you get this game if you got a Wii U. If you don't, sell yourself a little more. Get yourself a Wii U and then buy this game. That's all I'm going to say about that. Peace out, guys. That was my list for 2014. Seriously though, although I'm not saying sell yourself. Like, that's really not a good way to make money. You should just get a job. Well, it's probably a really good way to make money, but it's kind of illegal in a lot of places. So, yeah, just get a job. But that's my list. It's fucking awesome. Peace out, guys. So, with those games, those are my top 10. Now, the games I'm about to talk about here real quick, they're not going to be in depth or anything like that, but I'm just going to mention the games that I believe could have easily made this list, but I didn't put them in there either because I was PMSing that month, or I just figured that maybe some of these other games offer something a little bit more different. However, there's nothing I don't want to take away from these games, because these games I believe deserve a spot on this list and they could have easily been put anywhere. So without further ado, my little bit of an extended list, just because I feel bad for these games, are Transistor, Mario Kart 8, Divinity Original Sin, Shovel Knight, Wasteland 2, Wolfenstein The New Order. And I didn't forget about the Telltale games, I just don't like to grade them yet on just one episode. I'll wait till all the episodes come out before I put them on any type of list. However, with that being said, that might mean that these games won't be on until the 2020 list, because we know how long it takes Telltale to make a fucking episode on anything. So we'll see about where that leads to. The final thing is, have a happy New Year's, guys. I'm super excited for 2015 in video games. I can't wait. This is probably the first year where I believe all three systems are being developed on correctly by everyone, and these games coming out this year are going to be some of the best games on any of the systems, because you're looking at Bloodborne, you're looking at Evolved, you're looking at Mortal Kombat 10, you're looking at The Witcher 3, and then you got these other games like Final Fantasy 15, No Man's Sky, Silent Hills, Xenoblade Chronicles, Uncharted 4, Quantum Break, Metal Gear Solid 5, Killing Floor 2, Hotline Miami 2. All these games have a potential of coming out next year. Maybe some of them may be pushed back, most of them might, but these are the games that are coming out soon. I can't wait. I'm super excited. So definitely, guys, this is going to be a great year for video games. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I'm like stoked. I can't wait to see what my next year list is going to be like. I'm probably going to have to make like a top 20. I might as well have done that this year because I pretty much named every game coming out. So see you guys later. Peace out. Have a great New Year's. I'm out, guys.